All right. It says I'm alive. Oh, wait a minute. It says I'm live. Okay. Welcome to Rick Snider's Washington on YouTube, where you get the whole story. So please like, share, subscribe, comment, hit the thanks button while we're talking for the next hour. I appreciate that. Nobody's here yet, but that's all the algorithm it wanted to hear. And if you're watching on replay later, more people watch on replay than watch live. Who knew? Steve's here. Thanks, Steve, for coming. Same Michael. Good. See if you can shut down them bots this time, Michael. And Joey Sigmund's here. Great. And Commander Dan. Oh, no. I mean, Commando says Dan is fired. Yeah, got that right. So I'll start off. I was really thinking about retiring after this season because I was just tired of this nonsense. Never got any better, all this kind of stuff. But I'm not going anywhere now because the good times are getting ready to roll back. I mean, I don't know if they'll make Super Bowls or any of that again, but it's kind of cool to think that some good things are going to be coming. Something interesting is going to be coming. So hopefully I keep writing for whomever I am. But I was really thinking, looking around last time, and now I'm not. So I'm kind of enjoying that. Hi, Sean. Thanks for coming. Just let everybody get it here. Michael, Frank Reich was fired. Okay, I'm not as shocked about Frank Reich being fired, although I don't think it was right, as I am about Jeff Saturday being named the head coach. I mean, that'd be like going to get Corey Raymer and saying, "Hey, Corey, want to come back and coach?" How weird is that? They have no one who's called plays on that staff. Man, I know we want to give Irsay some credibility after what he said with Snider, but it's a joke. That franchise is just full of stupid owners. Hi, let's see, Ernest here. How long have I covered the team? My first stories on the team were in 1983, which is almost 40 years ago now. I had hair and everything. It was really cool. There's a picture of me somewhere. I'll show it sometime. I'm just getting through packing. I'm finally in my office, although it'll look different in coming weeks. I'll have stuff on the walls and all that. But today's the first day I've actually gotten inside my office to do anything, moving after so many years. So I'll show a picture of me as a young man covering the team one of these days. But regularly, I mean, for 10 years, I kind of was the young buck who came out occasionally. But in 93, it's been pretty much my gig since then. So we'll see how long I go. So far, I've been a sports writer 44 years. Hey, James B., you're there. And Commander says he's back since Dan's leaving. So I saw the game yesterday. I was at the game. I go to all home games now. I used to go to all the road games, but not anymore. And the crowd was just jacked. I mean, I think it was like Liberation Day. That they lost the game, well, nobody wanted to lose the game, but that was secondary to just enjoying the liberation thought. And they go, well, Dan Snider may only sell a minority part. Now, he can't sell a minority part now. If he does, will you leave? Probably. Yeah, that'll break everybody's heart. On there. Sean used to subscribe to, well, I forget what we called it, Redskin Review, I think, back then. Yeah, that's me. It's now called Command Post. And it's still around. We still publish once a month now. It used to be a weekly on there. So, everybody was just really excited. A lot of people they had long lines to buy the black jerseys, but they weren't that prevalent yet, because they're just starting to sell them. So you'll see more of that. Personally, I just don't think it fits in well here. But so if a new owner comes along, are they going to have a new name? Can you imagine changing the name again? But I did a poll on Twitter. Some of you, I'm sure, voted. And about 700 people voted. And I said, when you just talk to your friends, do you say Redskins or Commanders? 75% said Redskins. People just don't like the Commanders name that much. So as I know, because not many of you have been buying my latest book, 100 Things Commanders Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die. You actually can buy the old Redskin version still on Amazon. I updated 5 different chapters and updated a bunch of the books. So it's a little more modern. And I called my publisher and I said, hey, they change owners and change names. Are we going to do 100 things, whatever? I said, do I get to steal more money? I don't know. We'll see. But if you want to buy it, go to monumentalthoughts.com. That's where I have my website, and I'll sign it for you. If you buy it from Amazon, you're giving your money to Jeff Bezos, who's giving his money to Dan Snider. So, if it's Bezos, I don't know. I don't see it being a minority owner, as Michael says, because why would you give this guy $1 billion and have zero say in what goes on with this team? No, it's just not happening. And the great part is the RFK site, I truly believe, will be back in play given the right new owner. Paul asks, have I ever met any of my fans on my tours or at the game? Yeah, more than one. And the funny part is with the show now, whenever I'm at the games now, I'm walking the concourse or whatever, and people go, hey, it's Rick Snider. I've been doing this 44 years. Where you guys been? But now people come up to me. It's so weird doing this kind of thing. Matter of fact, Thursday will be the 2nd year anniversary of Rick Snider's Washington. And I'm just doing the numbers now, but it's almost 10 million views over 2 years. So thank you for all that. Appreciate it. And thanks for hitting the thanks button today. If you do, it's as we say, last week we said I was starting my mower fund for my 3 acres I just bought. Just moved to a new house, and still it's chaos, as anybody who's moved knows. And if you've moved after 35 years, you really know. James B. remembers Reich and that great comeback, Maryland beating Miami in '84. Yeah, I remember that game because I'm a Terp. That was, Reich has always been a personal favorite. I think he's a decent coach. Will he be here next? I don't think so. If I had to throw my money on the table, I'd say Sean Payton. But if this sale doesn't really happen until at least March, as they're saying, and that's probably optimistic. I covered the last sale back in the 90s, and it's so involved. And there's a lot of heavy hitters that are lining up to try and buy this team. And now I see Michael McConaughey wants to be part of Bezos' grouping on. I was like, well, all right. But I tell my one Matthew McConaughey story. He comes to Redskins practice back in sometime in the mid 90s, and he's on the sideline. He's talking to reporters. We have no idea who he is, and I finally said, "What do you do for a living?" He goes, "Oh, I'm an actor." Really? Been anything we've seen? At that time, not really, but he hit it big about a year later. So we had no idea who this guy was. Just another fan hanging out with us, basically. So that's my Matthew McConaughey story. Let's see. Blaming Wright for Matt Ryan is Rich, says Mike. Yeah, I mean, guess who wanted him? That sounds, the Colts problems sound awful familiar on there. But anyway, if you have a sale in the spring, it's too late to go get a new coaching staff or new scouting or GM and all that. You got to wait till the next year. And maybe that's okay. Maybe you want to give the new owner wants to give the staff a chance to see what they're like on his own before deciding. I mean, Dan Snider pretty much fired Charlie Casserly right away. Made him wait a couple weeks before he did it because I was reporting it, so he didn't want to do it right away. But, Snider will often say that was one of his big mistakes. I mean, that's a long list. That'd be my next book. Could be 100 mistakes Dan Snider made owning the Commanders. Yeah, maybe more than that. Bezos has a lot more money than everybody else, but that doesn't mean that he's the one. I think there's the Microsoft CEO formerly wants to go for. I mean, you've seen a lot of people with some serious money and some serious skills coming out here. The guy that owns the Weather Channel, is a Washingtonian. I mean, there's a lot of people out there. So I wouldn't say it's Bezos in a slam dunk. But, you notice he didn't go after Denver. Maybe it's because the league said, listen, I got something better for you over in Washington where you're at. And on my tours, some of the people here have come on my tours, believe it or not. And we go by Jeff Bezos' house on some of my tours, and where he bought a museum off of Embassy Row. It sits right between Woodrow Wilson's home and Herbert Hoover's home. So Bezos is there. We saw an Amazon box on the porch one day. Oh, I had a big laugh. Okay, so I know that people are saying Elon Musk is the richest person in the world, but I don't know. I mean, he spent all that money on Twitter. Maybe he's not anymore. I don't know. And my Twitter numbers have been going down. I wonder, since Elon came along, if there's a reaction to this and what's the future of Twitter. I'm not sure. I mean, I make my money more on YouTube. You don't really make it on Twitter. You get notoriety more over there. And I, have a lot of followers, but it's been different lately on Twitter. So I kind of wonder if that's something going on, a reaction to Elon Musk buying it. Daniel wants to get one of them lottery jackpots. Yeah, I've only played the lottery twice for $1 because I just think it's a sucker's game. Like I'm going to hit $1 billion. Man, you wouldn't. This would be the last show, but I don't think so. Raymond says Twitter's bleeding money. I'm sure. Yeah, I saw all the people who don't want to advertise. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. I hope he doesn't ruin it. Daniel asked, "I like a new place. If I could sit here for 5 minutes, I would. I'm still trying to get my old place ready to sell it this week. So it's been a lot of work. I did 138,000 steps on my Fitbit last week. All right, I'm losing weight. This is crazy. I did 25,000 biggest day. That's a lot of steps. I mean, normally I'm like a 60, 70,000 step per week person. To do double that, man, my feet did 14 today. So, let's see. Sean says, I can't understand why Ron is so bad at challenges and clock management. Well, I think he's getting some bad advice at times. It's hard to see things on the field. So he's got to rely on guys in the box to tell him to throw the red flag, unless he sees it right in front of him. So sometimes those guys aren't very good. Like Bruce Allen, we all know, was stunk at it. That's part of it. And the clock management, yeah. I mean, you can let one of your assistants take care of that. If that's what you need. You got plenty of assistant coaches. So let's see. Oh, the Twitter $8 thing. Yeah, I'm not paying that. I don't have a blue check on Twitter. I asked for it years ago, and they wouldn't give it to me. I have no idea who they think I am or who I am not. I don't know. I don't care on that. Let's see. Who will start when Wentz is back? Kira asked. Depends on how they're doing as a team, too. If Kirk is playing, I mean, not Kirk. If Taylor is playing very well, then he stays probably. But if the team is, free fall, then not. And when does Carson come back? I'm not sure yet. He's out on the practice field doing things. So I think sooner than later he'll be available. The big question about Chase, is he going to be there for Philadelphia on Monday night? Nobody knows yet, but my guess would be yes, that he will. Maybe he's on a snap count of some sort. People call it pitch count. Pitch count's for baseball. Snap count is for football. Minutes is for basketball. Captain JR says Ron throws the flag based on crowd reaction. I don't really think that. Was there genuine excitement when Snider bought the team? Brad asked. Yes, because people were impressed with his money, I guess I should say, and that he was willing to spend money on this. I knew this guy was what he is right away because I had to deal with him every day. I didn't think he'd do some of the things he ended up doing, but, I remember very early on, there's a heavy no smoking ban inside of public buildings where the public is, including Redskin Park. And Snider would smoke these huge stogies all the time until finally the I don't know if it's the police or whoever it is that regulates this, finally made them stop. But he just thumped his nose at everybody right away. They smelled awful with the cigars. And I know all his boys there, they all did it too. It was a real Wall Street kind of thing. So I knew he was going to be like this. But people were excited because he spent money on people. If this team becomes the Amazon Primes, then you have no choice but to hire Dion back as Coach Prime. And I loved covering Dion the 1 year he was here. Dion was cool. It was fun. Dion liked to park his Bentley in the fire lane right by the front door. But, Dion was fun. It was interesting. Let's see. Raymond, what makes people think a new owner, DC, will consider a stadium? Because they didn't want to write a blank check to Dan Snider, and they didn't want Snider to have control of all these things. But you get a guy like Bezos or some of these other people, they'll say, listen, here's how a high tide lifts all boats. This is how the whole neighborhood's going to benefit from this, including jobs and money and all that kind of stuff. So, that's how it works. They just didn't want to deal with Snider because they didn't think he would bring anything and would take all the money like he does all the time. All right, let's see. Rich Daniel, who is an owner of a football team here in town, the DC Divas. You should go watch women football. But he has a comment here. Rich has been around the team for an awful long time, too, in the media. Sonny Sam and Phil Hochberg are on the Ring of Fame at FedEx. Don't you think Frank Herzog should be on it too? Absolutely. I mean, the Sonny Sam and Frank thing was legendary, and Frank was a great guy, and I would very much want to see him there. And maybe you get to be on there too. Rich will be there before I am, I'm sure. Daniel says, I've never seen Carson Wentz pull a spin move like Taylor. Yeah, I mean, Taylor's got much more versatility there. Unfortunately, they're not calling the plays for that. They're trying to make him a statue too. It's not going very well. Bob Baker, who was with the team back during Deion's days, said Prime was fun and totally away from the spotlight. Yeah, I mean, I really liked covering Deion. I know people don't believe that, but it's true. He was fun. What are my thoughts on Sam Howell? Asked Ernest. I thought he looked really good in the preseason and off-season camps, and I think he'd be okay. I think he can be a starter in this league. He's got the big arm, but not that matters as much. But seems smart, be able to study things. We'll see if he plays this year. I would like to see him play, but that probably means the team is doomed before you give that rookie a chance. Do I think the owner could put in a new name? Asked Daniel. I'm sorry, Nathaniel. It's a real interesting thing. Why not? People don't like Commanders. I wouldn't blame them if they did. If the new owner gets a stadium deal, asked Stitchits, does that mean they would have to buy the Ashburn headquarters? Well, you own all assets of the team, so you would own Ashburn. You can always sell it because all they do around Ashburn's facility now is build these humongous internet server buildings. It's like pyramids around them. I'd be mad if I was in Ashburn watching that happen. Michael says he heard a rumor I needed counseling when I went bald. Is that true? And can I call you Baldhead Rick? First off, no, blank you. And, so I don't have as much hair. Who cares? Man, you're just a moron if you're worried about that. And I'm not worried about it. Am I far from FedEx Field now? Asked James. Well, traffic sucked last night. It took me an hour and a half. But how far am I now? About 40 miles. But Southern Maryland goes quicker, usually. Okay, so Sean says, what do I think of the defensive pass interference call in St. Jude's? I thought it was a BS call. But, the refs can't get everything right, I guess. I mean, they blocked for this team on the touchdown play. Ref got involved there. Shouldn't have, but. Is Heineke who he is, or can he get better? Asked Amelia. I thought he made 2 throws in particular yesterday that he wouldn't have made last year. I think his arm strength is better, so that definitely helps. But he is not Brady, or he's not a top 10 quarterback in the league. But could he be number 15 to 20? Yeah. Rich Daniel, new name, new stadium, new owner. Why not? Yeah. I mean, definitely new stadium. New name. I'm sure everybody's going to squawk, but since nobody likes Commanders, but then we're going to still fight the last battle of, Red Wolves versus whatever. I don't know. Make it the Prime, if that's who gets it. Let's see. Nathaniel, do you believe Rivera sees the problems with Turner? Scoring 2 points less than last year. Okay, I didn't know that. No, I don't think he sees it like we see it. A little different. He's known him for an awful long time, too. What time do I need to be at the stadium on game day, SD? I usually get there about 2 hours before now. When I was a reporter, I get there about 3. Now I'm a columnist, so I don't have to chase down everything. David says, Ursay is kind of a hinge. Yeah, well, Michael Perry got blocked by Michael. Way to go, Michael. If they could only, this offensive line needs to block like you do. Michael helps me out and blocks morons. I appreciate it. Maybe Washington could move to Washington, North Carolina. Is there Washington, North Carolina? Okay. It must be on the eastern side of the state. I don't know. Bob says, a friend of ours, Marie, said hello. Yeah, I love Marie. So used to work the team too. Great gal. Daniel says, just please tell me that Washington will get rid of Scott Turner. Eventually. It might be a year from now. I don't know. Lawbringer. I feel like since we're trending only towards 7-8 wins at the most, shouldn't we start Hal? Yeah, but teams don't like to do that if they think that they don't look at long-term development. You don't do green bananas in the NFL. Coaches don't want to do that. They don't want to lose any games. They want to fight for every win. They hold their win-loss records precious because they feel like that's how they're judged, and they are to a point. James thinks football team, football club. A lot of people like that. Um, Better in some things. Let's see. The best thing that can happen for the new owner is a top 5 quarterback pick to stitch it. Yeah, if you can pick the right guy. I mean, it's been proven that when quarterbacks kind of go like 1-2, that half of them do decent and half of them stink. So good luck on there. I guess Michael Perry's must be a comedian, says Michael. Okay. All right. If the rename is to happen, asked Sean, is it Hogs or Red Wolves? See, that's the thing. We're going to fight the last war again, and half of you are going to be upset again. But if I had to personally pick it, I don't know. I like Red Wolves, but then I could see Hogs. So I'm no help there. I'll let you guys pick it. Let's see. Lawbringer says, feels weird, but Scott Turner makes me miss Jay Gruden. Okay. I like Jay. He was a good guy. And he was in a tough spot with this owner. Bob Baker says, Washington can release Carson after the season without taking a salary cap hit. Question? Yes, that's correct. And his salary actually goes down from $28 million to $20 million in the next 2 years. So if they do keep him, they would gain $8 million on the cap. I don't know if they will, but I don't think Carson's back here next year, if I had to take a guess. The Woboat's back. Okay, D-line did a great job hitting Kirk while avoiding penalties. Yeah, man, they nailed Kirk one time. Was that Duran that hit him? Hit him up here, and they had to take a timeout for him. I think Duran has been doing better each year he's played. And I don't want to see him franchise tag him. I'd like to see him just sign him to a long-term deal. And people all the time say, who do you give your money to, Sweat or Payne? And, Sweat's played well too, but I think I'd give it to Payne. Man, the inside game on that D-line's really been helping a lot on there. Oh, we're 20 minutes in. Okay. A little smaller crowd tonight. Hey, next week is Tuesday because the game is Monday. So we'll do the show on Tuesday on there. Plus, I'm having a tooth pulled Monday, so I probably wouldn't be very good anyway. Let's see. Bob agrees with me. That's great. Stitches. Is it me or is this team rarely called play action? Yeah, I know. Steve. Oh, all right. Steve steps up and throws in $5 into the pot. We appreciate it. That thanks button is like a tip jar. So, appreciate people helping pay the bills. I got a new house, so got to pay some here. And Steve says they need to rebuild the O-line before anything else. Quarterback's going to be great behind the line. True. And people ask me all day, what are they going to draft? Well, man, that's such an open question. What are they going to draft? Where are they going to draft in the draft first? But, I could see them going, for an offensive lineman, maybe, but maybe guard. I don't see them going for a tackle at this point. You still have Cosme, who will be back. And Leno's played well, I think. Generally speaking, do you hire a GM first or the coach first? Asked Sean. Absolutely, the GM first. It's supposed to be hire your GM, and then he hires the coach because he understands football far better than some owner. And then that coach picks his quarterback. And if you don't do it in the right order, you can get jammed up, and we've seen it a million times with this team. Bob says, what's the take on Jamin Davis? Yeah, I think he is improving the last couple of weeks especially, but ever since the coach, threw him under the bus publicly, he's gotten better and better. And I think the guy just needed time. First year is a hard year to judge for a lot of people. Second year is a much better indicator. Third year is where you are what you are. So I think Jamin, I don't know if I would have still taken him so high in the draft, but maybe he'll at least be a decent player for them. All right, so Lawbringer says, I was at the game yesterday for the first time. The home crowd was good. Yeah, I thought the crowd was almost like an RFK experience in a way. They were into it. Yeah, only half the stadium because the other half belonged to the Vikings fans, but it's still better than normal. And I thought people were just happy suddenly with this franchise of, man, the dark reign of Dan Snider is going to be over at some point here. We can see that path. You see that light at the end of the tunnel when hopefully it's not a train coming at us. But I think people were really just excited and having fun, and the team was ahead, for a good bit of the game. And unfortunately, you couldn't hold on. Moss the Boss said, "Do you think Payne will hold a grudge against the team for not picking up his 5th year?" Nah, I don't think so in the end. I mean, he's a good guy, kind of a low-key type person. So I don't think so if you pay him the right money. Okay, what about first time in a while? I'm more hopeful about the football team's future than the Nats. Yeah, boy, the Nats. It's going to be a little while before they get back. Man, it's a tough season to watch. Kerry, would I hire an offensive or defensive head coach? I would go offense. And if you looked at Dan Snyder's pattern of this, it's been remarkable. He has gone offense, defense, offense, defense, offense, defense the whole way through. He always goes to the other side. Easygoing guy, hard case guy. Easygoing guy, hard case guy. It's weird. But I would get me a young coordinator that, you're looking for the next McVay, O'Connell, those kind of guys. O'Connell's doing some really interesting things on health and wellness with his players that I bet really transfer around the league a lot. You're going to see some of that. Bob says, Danny's gone. Yeah, well, not yet, but getting there. It'd be nice if they could tell us when he's leaving and that fans could line the roads at Ashburn and wave. That'd be fun. Now the important stuff. Favorite cheese, asked Sean. American. What are we, commies? No. I don't know. I like cheddar. Sharp cheddar. Let's see. Saints or Ravens tonight, asked Anthony. I think I actually won more than I lost in my picks this weekend. But I took the Saints. I don't know. I just like the Saints there. Ravens disappoint me sometimes. I thought they'd be a better team in recent years than they've been. So that kind of surprised me a little. All right. So let's see. Oh, almost halfway through. So, and then Seasons of Discontent, the podcast that I do with Matt, will be up probably right after this show is over. And of course, if you're watching and you missed any part of this show, it goes on the replay as soon as it's done. More people watch on replay. I think we're averaging 400 or 500 people a week now for the chat, which is good. I think it's going to go up much higher now that fans are happy about what's going on. I think we'll actually have more people. Fan his whole life, says Brady. Well, good. It's always nice to see. My grandson's, my son-in-law is from Buffalo, so my grandson got a Bills Mafia blanket and from his relatives up there, and I was like, I'll be damned. We're not doing this. This boy lives in Washington. He's going to be a Washington fan, not a Bills Mafia fan. So, time when his Kirk Cousins came, he went, and he conquered. Well, he got last word. I saw him dancing without his shirt with his chains. Good for you, Kirk. Sean, any good Grossman stories? I'm a huge Gator fan. I like Sexy Rexy. He was a fun guy, too. I mean, very smart. He could talk about the mistakes he made, but he couldn't stop making them. But he had full confidence in himself. I'm telling you, man, the guy never threw a bad pass in his mind. It just didn't end up well. Bob Edgar says, I just saw where Kevin Durant and Jay-Z want to join Bezos. It's like to say, Kevin Durant wants to always be part of something in Washington except to play for the Wizards. Why can't we get him to play for the Wiz? Probably because he'd be bothered for tickets for everything, being a local guy. Maybe he just wants to, chill. You can't blame him. Let's see. Brady. I feel we have a terrible name, terrible stadium, terrible owner, terrible uniforms. The only thing keep me super interested is Heineke and McLaurin. Yeah, I mean, the crowd chanted Heineke's name at least 3 times. I mean, a real chant. Didn't really hear her sell the team so much. But they did the Heineke one, and then after the team went up, I think it was 17-7, the crowd started yelling, "You like that," at Kirk. But, I guess he got the last laugh. So I guess Kirk liked that one. He did like that one. Little Kirko change. Yeah. Okay. Stitches. I saw that. I don't know much about that kind of thing. I mean, I have my own, but it's just a cross. It's not, it's not something gaudy. It's just, I want to use the show, but, I have my own cross. It means something to me. So, and I walk around without my shirt on. That's for your safety and mine. Real men don't wear purple. I don't know what that's about, Michael, but okay. I don't know. I don't think I own anything purple. People ask about my clothes sometimes. I say, whatever it is my wife and daughters buy me, that's pretty much 90% of my wardrobe. Okay, Lawbringer was chanting in 101 about solid team. Okay, I just didn't hear you. That was a cool day yesterday. They had Military Appreciation Day. They swore in 10 young recruits down the goal line during a break. You know, they're going in the military. They've done it every year. And the Navy band was there. They passed me up on a ramp. I mean, love the bands. Love the military bands. They're so good. You know, they're excellent musicians. So it was kind of cool to hear them too. All right. Katie doesn't want to play because everybody's going to win tickets. See, that's what I kind of figured. You can't hide at 6'10". That's what Ricky Cutchin said. Yeah, I kind of suspected the same. KD wanted to play because the team is always weak, says Michael. But maybe they wouldn't be weak if we could get KD. You know, I've been a Wizards Bullets fan since they came. I think it was 72, something like that. Although I don't watch a lot of the games because it just gets hard sometimes. You know, to wonder, you just get tired of it. I mean, it's one thing to lose a lot of games in a 17-game season, but, when you're playing 80, 82, that's, man, it's just like the Nats. Whew. That was tough watching the Nats sometimes this year. One, I didn't know who was there. Who is this guy? And you just knew it just weren't that good. That's try to be a fan through thick and thin. Daniel thinks it'd be fine if Matthew McConaughey was a part owner. Yeah. Now and I don't think they can do this under NFL rules, but personally, I'd try and make it something like Green Bay did. Like 5% of this team could be owned by the public, and you as a fan could buy one share of this team for $1,000 or whatever. And maybe you get something like free parking or something in return, so it'd be a decent deal. But that way, if you owned a piece of this team, you'd feel much more connected. I mean, Green Bay owns the whole thing. They can't do that anymore, but I still think there's. So I said that the rules prevent it, but you know what? You can always call it something else, and do this. All right, Slammin' Jammin's here, 87. Glad to see you back. Giving improvement each week on the defense, keeping them in games. The offense continues to be living at 17. Any chance of firing Scott Turner? Not during the season. Maybe they make a change after, but I doubt it. Did the fans like to change from Bullets to Wizards when it happened? Asked Steve. No, they did a big public poll. And Abe Pollin, who owned the team, said, I'm going to follow what the public says. Well, the public voted, I think, for Seahawks, something like that, which we're not near the ocean. It's like 3 hours away. Well, anyway, Abe just said, this poll is stupid. I'm naming them the Wizards, whether you like it or not. And people didn't really like the Wiz, and I guess I've gotten used to it. I'd rather be the Bullets. But he changed it because he wanted to make a statement about gun violence. I don't know. Abe was a good man. I don't agree with him there, but he was a good guy. Helped people out a lot in charities. He bought computers for every kid in D.C. school system one time. I mean, he put his money up. Sean says, if I could bring back one player to help the current team, who would it be? Assuming Sammy or Sonny. Well, I would go with Sonny. They need him more than they do Sam right now. That's really interesting question. I'd have to think about that. Lawbringer, Rick, do you think not resigning Kirk altered the direction of the team? Yeah, because Kirk just didn't want to deal with Bruce Allen. Had they kept him, I mean, his stats were good. He threw for 4,000 yards, I think 3 straight years. They've had like 11 quarterbacks since, and never been anybody, that's approached it. So I definitely think that was one of the real losses. And losing Trent Williams was stupid. That was another one. That was another Bruce error. Bob's got to go. All right, Bob, I'll see you. But thanks for coming by. Bob and I are old friends. Daniel, if I could bring back any player, it would be Sean Taylor. That's who he'd bring back. Great player. Was on the verge of greatness when he passed away. Ricky said, I was mad at Ridgeway at first, but after looking at the penalty, the dude flopped. Yeah, I mean, it's too late now. I agree. That was a bad call. And on a key play in the game, that was a bad call. Gary, has any word on Chase working on his technique? Because he's been a one-move pony since he came here. I think he's learned that lesson. Last year he didn't know that lesson. Now I think he has. He's worked on a lot of things, And I look forward to seeing him if he can be good the second half of the season and be the player that you thought he would be 2 years ago. It would be nice. So, all right, let's see. We're halfway through. So get your tip jar ready. Hit that thanks button. I always appreciate it. Or order a book. Some of you do that too. The average person only watches about 10, 15 minutes of the show. So sometimes it feels like I'm repeating to a few of you who have watched the whole show. But most of you are just cycling in and out. So 100 things Commanders fans should know and do before they die. I would say you can go to monumentalthoughts.com. A lot of you are buying it. And hey, it's getting to be Christmas time coming up. So if you have a Commanders fan in your family or a Redskins fan in your family, go for it. I appreciate it. I'll make a few bucks this way. I'm getting old, so money's money. We'll get it. All right. Let's see. Ooh, I caught up to questions again. Wow. You guys aren't as prolific as some years. We're a little down on people, but I don't know. One of the things about moving, I went from Verizon to Comcast. I can't figure out where the hell anything is, when they're the new channel lineups. But I can just ask for it. That helps a lot. Tough getting old. What was my book called? Daniel said, okay, let me show it again to you. 100 things Commanders fans should know and do before they die. Used to say Redskins fans. Now it's updated with 5 new chapters. They're not about the Commanders because they didn't start playing until now. I think there's one chapter about the name. But most of it's about Washington football team stuff. I added some stories like Alex Smith and Ron Rivera and stuff like that. So Daniel gets one for Christmas. I appreciate it. What about Thanksgiving? You can read a chapter to everybody while they're eating turkey. Do you know there's a national turkey shortage? You better go get your turkeys early. It's weird because even some of the restaurants that I go to don't have turkey right now because of that. How weird. There was some kind of avian flu that killed all these turkeys, and now it's hard to get a turkey. At least that's the, non-conspiratorial aspect of it versus me just thinking they want to raise money. But supposedly that happened a lot in chickens too. And the birds that fly around, they pass the avian flu to things and kill other birds. So that's why a lot of farms who have chickens and stuff like that, you also keep dogs around to chase off the migrating birds who can get them infected. Like Maryland had to kill millions of chickens back in the spring because of this avian flu thing. Who knew? The epidemic, man, is still weird. Going for my flu shot tomorrow. So, whatever. I heard the flu's bad, already kind of bad out there, so I don't want to get that. I'm a hermit anyway. I have my own house now with 3 acres. I don't have to go see any of you. Let's see. Sean says, get the desire to re-sign Payne this offseason, but with Allen signed, assuming Payne is locked up in Chase's a couple years, too much money long term. And you can't pay too much for success. Like they're doing well this year. So if they do well this year and can lead the team to wins, pay the money. Let's see. Lawbear, should they look to get a ball hawk safety? This team's done well with safeties, though. I think Derek Forrest has played very well. Cam Curl has played very well. That's one of the bright spots of this. And I was talking on my podcast, Seasons of Discontent. What's been the biggest surprise about this season at midseason? That the tight ends haven't really been part of the offense because of injuries mostly. But there's just not been much there. And I really thought they would be a big help. A little surprised that Dotson's now missed 5 games with a hamstring. I'm not sure if he'll be back yet for Philly. They don't want to rush it because if he hurts it again, it's probably done for the season. He already hurt it coming back once a couple weeks ago in practice. So you got to be careful. I mean, they really miss him. All right. Do you think we should pick? Let's see. I got that one. Oh, my God. This time change is crazy. Bill says, what do I think is going on with Logan Thomas? Yeah, it's just been weird. I remember him at Virginia Tech too, as a quarterback. So I thought he would have a bigger year, but the injuries have just plagued him. And the holes, Cole Turner can't seem to get on the field. That's been a disappointment because I watched him in the offseason camps. He was pretty good. Let's see. Sean asked, I remember the salary cap drama with the Giants back in 2011 or 12. I seem to be talking about Albert Hainsworth. Yeah, that was a BS penalty in my opinion because there wasn't a direct rule against it, paying him that way. And it did cost Washington a big salary cap hit where they couldn't do it. Daniel says, Hail to RFK. Yep, that was my book I wrote with John Kahn and Dave Elfin. We wrote Hail to RFK. It's hard to find a copy of that anymore, but it was about RFK closing. But I think it could come back. I could see the new place being called something field at RFK. You know, they keep both because they want to keep the RFK name on there because that is a political thing. I don't, you know, there's a video I have that talked about why it was named RFK, and basically it was a political screw job to LBJ, who wanted that stadium named after him. It was originally DC Stadium. LBJ wants it named after him, and just to tick him off as he ends his presidency, the Kennedy people in his administration ganged up and made it RFK. Not because people here loved RFK so much. They're just screwing LBJ. And they told him as he was driving to the Capitol for, let's see, the inauguration, which had been Nixon, right? So he's going to that. He had a car phone back when no one had a car phone. And LBJ got a call, and they said, hey, you know that stadium you want named after you? And he said, yeah. He goes, you're not getting it. We passed it with, they didn't need his approval. And they named it RFK just to really tick them off. LBJ did not put money in the budget for RFK to be buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Nixon had to put the money in for that. I mean, the Kennedys and the Johnsons did not get along. And LBJ didn't like RFK because he thought he didn't treat him with the right respect because he was his brother's attorney general and he could be more frank with his brother. So, I mean, LBJ had a point there. I liked LBJ. He did a lot of heavy lifting as a president on there. But that's why it's called RFK Stadium. How much say does Dan Snider have and who the team gets sold to? Well, everything, really. I mean, it's his team to sell. You know, I mean, he'd have to do something really weird for not that. Joel asked, can they block the sale to Elon? Well, he's free to sell who he wants to or not want to. In reference to Joel's question here about Amazon Prime and all, I just laughed that maybe I said if Bezos buys Washington, do they have to play every Thursday night as the Prime game? How weird would that be? It would be like Virginia Tech's old days. Okay. Oh, Fat American sent some money in here. Thank you, Fat Americans. Let's just say volume enhanced American. So I appreciate that. He's asking about my cousin Dan Snider, and of course I spell mine with an I, not a Y. Dan doesn't spell his name right. But Dan's going to sell. I'm pretty sure of that. I think he has to now. He can't pull out of this. Oh, Fat American hit the thanks button again. Thank you, Fat American. Wait, doesn't the NFL have a say in who buys? They have a sale. They can approve or disapprove it. Most of the time, the disapproval is because of the money situation. You have to be at least 30% of your own money in this deal, and it has to be at least half, more than half, 51%, I guess. You know, with solvent funds, so that if something bad happens, a bank doesn't end up with the team. That's what Milstein would never do. He would never sell his real estate holdings thinking he could just use them as collateral. They told him a million times that's not how it's going to work. And he wouldn't listen to them. He thought they'd fold, but they didn't at the very end, and he withdrew his bid. Then he sued the NFL over it, and the judge threw it out the first day in court. So that was the end of that. Milstein would have been a bad owner too. He would have just been about money. It can't just be about money. You know, there's so much money to be made. It's incidental. You know, you don't have to try. You know, the NFL as a collective earns it all. And that's one of the things the NFL owners are upset with Dan Snider is he's been a negative cash flow kind of guy over the years. The team used to be one of the big money earners of the league, and they share a lot of funds, TV contracts and concessions and, apparel, stuff like that. And he's not been carrying his weight on this kind of thing. Well, man, look at Fat American. He's going to be my favorite guy out here because he's hitting that thanks jar. Bezos says there's $8 billion. I'm pretty sure Dan can put differences aside. I think Ron is gone next year. I don't think that Ron will be gone if the sale takes until the spring. Who are you going to get? You know, coaches are hired in January. Plus, you can't change a lot of stuff right before the draft and free agency because you don't have time. So I think Ryan's another year. Um, but I don't know. Money talks and BS walks. We'll see if Bezos. He certainly can overpay for the team, but I don't know. We'll see what he has. Steve Moody says Fat American has a fat wallet. Well, and I hope all of you have fat wallets so that I can. I've been sitting here 2 hours. It's too much. I did a show before this too. Let's see. Joel said, how much of the statement Snider made about the other owners have in the pressures make Dan sell? I think it ticked him off a lot because he basically was leaking out there, I'm going to, bring a war against you. And they didn't like that either. And they made Irsay be the guy to go out there and say it, but he wasn't the lone wolf on that deal. Daniel said, I used to work for the Washington Post. And I used to be a delivery boy. There you go. I delivered the Star and the Daily News way back. So I know what it's like to be a paper boy. Do I think Cosme kicks inside? Sean asked. That's what I would do. I think he's a guard. I don't think he's a tackle. I don't think he has quite the speed and the long arms to be a tackle. Nothing wrong with being a guard, So that's what happened with Sheriff. They signed him to be a tackle, and it didn't take very long to move him to guard. Steve asked, why are people? No, it's not Steve. Somebody asked about Elon. I haven't heard Elon Musk's name come up at all. I look a little bit like Andy Reid, says the Philadelphia Eagles. Dress up for him next Halloween. Well, you haven't been watching some of the shows because Andy Reid does make a visit here, but right now all my Andy stuff is in a box. But I've lost weight, so I don't look quite as much like Andy Reid anymore. But hang out, you'll see. Fat American's still pumping the money in. Thank you, Fat American. Jake Glazer said the deal could be done by March. Could be. I know it's the spring meetings, but listen, the owners can hold a meeting and just fly into a city and approve a sale any day of the year. So it doesn't have to be then. And it takes longer. And there's a lot of heavy hitters here. So I don't know that March will happen. I think it could be a little later. Fat American's is only 180 pounds, but my wallet weighs 700. Good for you, dude. Good for you. Nothing wrong with making money in America. It's called capitalism. Joel says, am I going to continue to be a tour guide? Yeah, I still, I'm thinking next spring will be good because the last, with the pandemic, it pretty much killed that business. But I've been working regularly, tour guiding lately, last couple months. And we tour guide regularly till about Thanksgiving, and then it gets too cold. And we start again in February. I mean, I'll do it once in a while like that. But I'll be tour guiding regularly come spring. If you want to come with me, just go to Monumental Thoughts and you can see how to contact me. And I do specialty tours all the time if you're in town. And I've done it for some of the fans. Number of fans have come on my tours. Brett says Rivera is well-respected, a nice guy, but not a great game manager or GM. I kind of agree with that. I think he was the right guy to sign at the time. And I think now it's time to move on. Fat America says, I'm thinking of Mike Holmgren. I don't know. Am I a golfer, asked Sean? Nah, I find it boring. I tried it after I had a heart attack 20 years ago. People say, oh, you need to, play golf and all that. I found it boring. Because I don't care. I don't care if I make that shot. And so you're really going to suck at golf. So, nah, wasn't for me. Joel thinks I'm awesome. Thank you, Joel. I forgot to ask your second question. What do I think of Hal starting? Asked Fat American. Sorry, I guess I missed it. They go quick sometimes. I think if they're not in position to go for the playoffs, I would start Hal at the end of the season. Get a look and see what he is. I think he'd be okay. Lincoln tour I do is great, says Joel. I guess you've come on it. Thanks. Yeah, I have a good time. My relative is John Wilkes Booth, so I bring a unique perspective to the Lincoln tours. If I ever make it to Florida, let me know, says Daniel. Yeah, absolutely. I haven't been to Florida in quite a while. Used to be there several times a year. Used to travel a lot covering the team and such. But now I don't do that as much. So I haven't been anywhere in a while. Hoping next year we're done with the pandemic stuff and, can go travel the country again. I'm at 45 states. I want to get the last 5 in. Do I have any recorded walking tours? Asked Craig. As a matter of fact, yes, I do. It's called Voice Map. Voice Map. And I have several tours that way. It's with a company in South Africa that it sells regularly. We've actually sold more in the last year than we had for years before. But I do a Lincoln assassination and a White House tour, and I actually do the San Francisco Wharf because I know that so well. So yeah, you can see Voice Map. They do a lot of places, a lot of town. Charles, is Schweitzer going to play again? I don't know. I'd say overall no, but we'll see. What would Dan do with all his free time? David asked. Sail to the sunset, brother. Go buy a European soccer team or something. I don't really care. You know, I don't care where you go. You just can't stay here. Somebody has a suggestion. Oh, no, Michael, that's a little naughty. Sean, what are the final 5 states I need to go to? Vermont, for some reason, I was nearby, didn't go. Alaska, Hawaii, and Nebraska, Iowa, for some reason. If you don't have a football team, I don't always show up there. Fat American, my favorite fan tonight. Thank you. He says, I look good. Yeah, I've lost some weight. You know, when they thought I had a stroke in January, turns out it was a disc in my back that messed with the nerves. But when you're laying on the ground and you can't move, it's a come to Jesus moment, literally. You know, I was kind of wondering if that was how it was going to go. So I've tried to focus more on losing weight and eating better and all that. You know, we all have our things. I don't really drink alcohol anymore. I don't do drugs, any of that stuff. But, you know, a plate of Twinkies goes by me. That's where the temptation comes in. I can skip Iowa and Nebraska, says Sean. But I was thinking of just flying in to a border city, seeing both. I'd like to see Field of Dreams. That would be kind of cool. I've met a bunch of people from Iowa. They're always great people. Steve, where does Joe Gibbs live these days? Down in Charlotte. And, you know, unfortunately, he lost his son yesterday. Cool. Well, 2 days ago. So, you know, keep Joe in your prayers. That's, you know, he and his wife, Pat, have lost both their sons now. That's a terrible thing. I can't imagine losing your child. Michael, welcome to Montana. Nothing to see here. I don't know. I've been to Montana. I think it's pretty cool. You know, it's the Yellowstone area, all that kind of stuff. Fat American, forgot to read the rest of your super chat. I'm sorry. Let's see. Am I still passionate about covering the team, or is it just a job? Ask a super fan. What's my biggest takeaway from Gibbs 2.0? The biggest takeaway from Gibbs 2.0 is after Sean died, Gibbs would talk a lot about God and football games in heaven, stuff like that. I know it sounds hokey, but it wasn't. It wasn't at the time. It was a very comforting conversation that he would have with us. Joe, I thought it was some of Joe's best work on that. I'm still passionate about covering team. I still enjoy doing it. You know, it's been, I'm not a beat writer anymore. I used to love being a beat writer, but you work 80-hour weeks, and I had a heart attack after so many years of doing it. So for my own good, I'm not a beat writer anymore, but I do, I look forward to seeing a new owner and some positive things to write about. It's just been hard the last few years with this owner. Fat American's the MVP tonight, says Lawbringer. Well, there you go. I would agree with that. Though, Lawbringer, you can be MVP. Just keep, you know, hit that thanks button. Let's have a competition. That'd be awesome. Daniel says, my company put up the Field of Dreams bleachers for the game. Wow, that's cool. I would have loved to have been to those games. Maybe, you know, I'm not sure they're doing it next year. I think they're not. But I would love to go see. I'm a baseball guy more than anything. All football writers have a favorite sport outside of football because that's your vocation. Must be passionate again, putting off retirement. Yeah, I'm putting off retirement for now. I don't have to work anymore, but I like working. What else would I do? I don't have any hobbies or anything, you know. So I like working. I like writing. I like talking about the team. I wouldn't mind. Horse racing was my favorite to cover. I did that for 5 years before I went full time with covering the team. And but nobody covers horse racing anymore. Nobody will pay you. So let's see. I always thought John Jansen was underrated, says Sean. He was a solid player. You know, I mean, I remember he came to Washington. He had started 50 college games, and I think he's about 50 games here before he got hurt. Fat American, thank you again. Which team was better, 05 or 99? I'd say 99. I think they had, you know, Brad, and they had some really good playmakers on that team. So I would go with that one, 99. Fat American ones, Chris Samuels. Who doesn't? Chris Samuels, they found he had stenosis in his back, and they retired him right then and there because you can be paralyzed with spinal stenosis. That's a dangerous thing. Let's see, Lawbringer. Oops, that's a good question. Okay, good. Um, so everybody's always talking about 99 or 05. 99. There was a lot of good players, and Snider blew up some of it. Like getting rid of Brad Johnson was dumb. I wouldn't have done that. For Jeff George. Jeff George could look great in practice, but he couldn't play, under the lights. And he wasn't much of a guy either, but it was hard to cover. Let's see. Lawbringer, we got lucky with that Trent after Samuel. Yeah, I mean, Trent was a great player for them. And after taking a year off, it looks like he's really, kind of got his groove back. I mean, it's tough for football players. They start when they're 8, 10, 12, and their bodies get beat up, and having a year off might actually help him. Fat American, thank you again. Why was the 05 team special to you? Defense? A Fat American, you can tell me why you like 05 better. Daniel, speaking of baseball, I just found a catfish hunter in Sparky. I'll sign baseball. Whoa, it's Grandpa gave you. That's cool. I like Catfish Hunter. He was a nice player. The Oakland A's, and man, the Oakland A's had a good team before Charlie Finley sold everything out. That's cool. I don't know what it's worth. I actually, in the move, found my Jackie Slater mini helmet signed. I'm in an elevator with Jackie Slater down at the Super Bowl. He'd just been named to the Hall of Fame the day before, and he had one less helmet left. And he says, "Hey, you want it?" I didn't want to say no. I mean, I wasn't particularly a Jackie Slater fan, but when I was moving, I looked and saw it was worth about $75 on eBay. So I got to find that thing. I don't really have much signed memorabilia at all because as a reporter, you're not supposed to ask for autographs, among all the things. I do have, I was given a Mosley jersey last year at Christmas. That's my first jersey on there. He was my favorite player when I was a teenager. Jackie Slater helmet. That's one. Yeah. Fat American, the defense team had swag, the Miami trio. True. I mean, they were a fun bunch. They sat next to each other in the locker room. It was Moss on the outside by the door, and then Clinton, and then Sean. And Sean didn't say a whole lot, but didn't talk to the media much. But Moss did a lot, and Clinton was awesome on there. He'd do his Thursday impressions where he talked to the media as different characters. That was pretty amazing. Mike wants to know why he's typing like he's illiterate. No, I'm not answering that one. Fat American, they just called fire out of nowhere. Yeah, I mean, that was true. They finished with a big rush on there. I thought they would maybe do something in the playoffs, but didn't quite work out. They've had, one playoff win under Dan Snider, and that was way back. Whew. It's hard. You can get to the playoffs, but then it's hard to get past that. Fat American asked, did LeVar and Sean Taylor ever patch up their differences? Not to my knowledge, but maybe. I mean, LeVar's now out in L.A. I mean, I liked LeVar. I covered him all his years. And LeVar one time was complaining that the media didn't really know him. And it was one of the great stories. And then one of the reporters said, "Oh, yeah, what's my name?" And LeVar goes, "What?" He goes, "I've covered you every day for several years. What's my name?" LeVar didn't know it because most of the time they don't know us. They know we're media. They don't take an interest in us. That's okay. I don't need you to be my friend. We just need to do a business relationship. So LeVar was kind of ticked at the media about some things, and he blocked me on Twitter. I didn't even know I was following him until I got that blocked message. Okay, whatever. I've always been nice to LeVar. I don't know what he's mad at me about. Well, I was the one who reported on his career-ending injury in the motorcycle, and he was at the hospital. I knew it was a career-ending injury because I had somebody there tell me about all this. And I know LeVar's agent called me and said, "I know you're paying doctors for this information." I was like, "Seriously, you think I'm paying doctors for this?" No. But I found out from somebody medically. And Yeah, I knew it was true, and it was true. They just didn't want to admit it at the time. Lawbringer says Portis was the closest thing to a younger generation of John Riggins. That's probably true. Rigo wasn't as much fun with the media, but he was better with the fans. And it was a cool guy. He didn't really like the media that much. Different world, the media back then and now. Actually, I would say athletes are nicer to the media today than they were years ago. Like, the great Super Bowl teams, they were rough to cover. But today everybody knows it's business and it's good publicity and all that jazz. So we get treated better than we were. James P. asks, what's for dinner? Man, I barely got to eat before I came and did this. My wife made chili. That's probably her best deal. So I was just glad somebody, usually I cook. But with this house move and dealing with stuff, I just haven't had time. That's why I'm losing weight. I haven't been able to cook. I haven't even been in the grocery store in a week yet. Fat American, everything is more polished at the helm. Yeah, I mean, they've all learned it from now on. The free agency changed things. For a while, players were kind of jerkish when free agency started because now everybody was a businessman. But now the money is just there. So it doesn't affect the psyche as much of players as the old days. Stuff like that. And, women now are a common thing in locker rooms, which they weren't way back. And that brought a lot of drama in the locker rooms. But today, there's maybe as many women as there are men covering things. So that's also changed the locker room. Yeah, no more walking around naked, those kind of things. I didn't like them walking around naked either, but now we have women there. You're not allowed to do something like that. In the early days, they did just to bug them. It was that's a whole other show. All right, Sean said I should be like Daryl Green, wear Tootsie Rolls in my sock while counting steps, and I'll be faster. Yeah, Daryl and I still talk here and there. Daryl and I were talking about racing when we both are the same age. He's a few months older than me, and Daryl's like, "Hey, we can race in the 40. I'll race you." And I said, "Daryl, you're gonna have to give me 25-yard head start, and maybe I can run 15 yards at the time it takes you to win go 40. That's the only way I'm winning this." He was serious about it. We never did it, but he was serious about it. When are they going to let men reporters walk around in women's locker rooms? Actually, they do. I have been in a couple, and I have to admit for me, it was a little different. But women's basketball did, and I was kind of like, no, I'll wait out here. Listen, I'm now their father's age or almost their grandfather's age. It just felt kind of weird on it. They used to have women just come out and talk to you in the halls, but then it's changed. Fat American, thanks. 2012 or 05? Well, of course you're going 05 by the defense. 12. All right, I'll go 05 on that one. Yeah. Well, you got a better memory than me. Some of this stuff kind of blurs out after a while for me. Sean says Taylor knocks out RG3, game over. Okay. I don't remember him knocking out RG3 anywhere, but Taylor was, if you mean over RG3, sure. RG3 coming was the biggest hoopla, if I can use that word, for a player coming to the team. I never saw anything like RG3's arrival. And I talked to Steve Guback, who's passed away since, but Steve had covered the team for 25 years right when I was showing up. So between the two of us, we had over 50 years of this team. And, he said, well, social media wasn't there in the day. And so it just wasn't, as big a deal. And the Redskins weren't a big deal until the 70s, really. I mean, they went many years losing. I can't speak to what they were like in the 30s and 40s, but, RG3 was just amazing. People would scream RG3 during practices at training camp. It was like the Beatles had come. I mean, it was embarrassing. At one point, RG3 was kind of like, chill a little bit because the other players were getting a little jealous of all the attention he got. But then again, they called him Black Jesus and as Rook, the vets. And I don't like people comparing others to Jesus, but I'd never seen veterans circle a rookie like they did with him. It was really an interesting thing. If he stayed healthy, who knows, man? his first year was good, and then it just didn't happen. But man, he had the talent, that's for sure. It was an interesting player. What do I think of Scott Turner's job so far? Fat American asked me. I have been disappointed. If I had to give him a grade, I'd probably give him a D. Some games have been okay, but I think he could be better. I agree with you, Fat American. I think he overthinks things way too much. Like, doing a quarterback draw on 3rd and 9. What are you doing there? Or the third and inches throwing the ball. Yeah, those are bad calls. Kenny Wayne, did I ever meet Jack King Cook? Absolutely, covered the team when he was alive. The Squire and I, there's actually a chapter into my book about the Squire and I and all the stuff he used to yell at me. He was interesting and one of the most interesting people I ever met. But one time he called me late at night and we talked for an hour about a little vending company machine I had. And he wanted to know about it. And he talked to me about business. And I just thought, I said, are you buying a vending machine company or something? He's like, no. And Charlie would later tell me that Cook was just lonely and wanted to talk to people. So, but he would often yell at me too, He'd yell at me all the time. And I'd say, wait a minute. Are we related? And Jack would go, well, you're a bastard. Let's see if I can do his voice again. By God, you're a bastard, but you're not mine. And I'd say, well, do I work for you? He goes, oh, I'd fire you in a moment. So I said, then quit yelling at me. You don't get to yell at me. He didn't care. He still yelled at me. So the Squire was an interesting dude. We could do a whole show on him. Do I sign my own books? Daniel asked. Yes. Do you buy it from Monumental Thoughts? I will sign the book because I personally put it in the envelope and mail it to you. We don't sell that many books, so it's not like it's a bestseller. You guys have been slow buying them this year. Michael says Cook was eccentric and a curmudgeon. Definitely eccentric. I don't think he was a curmudgeon. I mean, the weird part about Cook is when he was mad at a staffer, he was the great 1-minute manager before that was a popular thing. He would spend 30 seconds giving him a hard time about something. Like I remember he gave the PR guy a hard time for not using both sides of a piece of paper, wasting paper. Okay, he was actually right about that, but do we really want to yell about it? But then he would finish this by saying, listen, I know you're going to do better. I know you can, and he would pump you up. So people worked for Cook for a long time. It wasn't like what you see nowadays. People stayed for Cook for years because they liked working for him. Carson Wentz is the greatest quarterback of all time, says Washington Commanders. All right. Well, there you go. Carnus says, hi. Can we get Chase back for the Eagles game? My guess is yes. At least part of the plays. Fat American, don't I think when the offense is running plays under center, like on strong formation, they've been pretty effective. Why don't they do it more? Well, you don't do it more because the other team's starting to get used to it. But yeah, I mean, they've been better that way. All right, Lawbringer's giving up for the night. Thanks for calling, Lawbringer. Yeah, we're after 9, aren't we? I've been working for 14 hours. Maybe I should call it a day too. So last call for alcohol and whatever else. I'm drinking iced tea, but Sean hates the shotgun plays. But listen, you need that extra time for the guy to get it. Steve's heading out. Go watch the Heels. Oh, dude. Friends don't let friends root for North Carolina. I'm a Maryland guy. Bay the Lord's around. Okay. Culture joke. Well, they certainly haven't much this year. 3rd and 1 run from shotgun. Yeah, I agree with that one, Sean. Fat American, they bring in the fullback, Arma, tight end. They seem to gain 4 or 5 a pop. Yeah, I mean, Armani's done well on this, what they've done. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to sit and think about tomorrow. I'm going to do grades, post them, do a video tomorrow, mid-season grades. So I'm going to really look at the stats. I don't look at stats a whole lot, but, I'm going to do it tomorrow when I make my videos. Daniel, I didn't know you were a Terp, maybe, but we welcome you to Terp Nation. I graduated from University of Maryland, so one of the great parts of my life. Greg's heading out. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Anybody wants to hit the tip jar before you go? I'll hit the button for you in your name. I'll give it a minute before we get going. So Fat American's asking about the airline's pass protection. Got to adjust. Oh yeah, I mean you got to adjust. You have to adjust all the time. Boss the boss says thanks. I appreciate it. See you in the comments. I appreciate that on there. I like doing the show on Monday nights. If you're watching and you missed any of the show, you can watch it again on replay. If you want to get a copy of my latest book, 100 Things Commanders Fans, great Christmas present for everybody. I personally sign them at mightymetalthoughts.com, or you can give your money to Bezos. I guess he's going to need it if he's going to buy this team. Carter Home Gym watches all my videos. Thank you. Appreciate all that. Yeah, Daniel, I have the bell. I finally found it in the box, I found something. So me and the bell, we've been together the whole time on there. Fat American, how would I fix the offense? I've used the tight ends more as targets. That's for starters. Might use a fullback a little more often to give the quarterback a little extra time on there. And hopefully, Dotson will be back soon. That would help a lot. Sean says, need another hour for that. Yeah, but I don't have another hour. I'm ready to go to sleep. This time change sucks. So there you go. Ooh, what was that? All right, Bill. All right, last call. So I am heading out of here. One more formations under center. I don't know. It depends on how the pass blocking is going, Fat American. But anyway, I'm going to head out of here. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. I always appreciate people watching the videos and all that. So you can see, I usually have videos every morning and evening. Tonight's was about 3 questions from fans, and so is tomorrow. People asked some really good questions, so I did a couple of videos on that on there, and so we're doing. Fat American, thank you. You have a good night too. Appreciate you coming, and everybody else, thank you for coming on here. I hope we managed to do it. Thank you, Daniel, for coming too. I always appreciate it because you don't have to do this. Rich Chandler taught me a valuable lesson about, respecting your readers and, thanking them for that. Rich was great about that. He worked in restaurants before he became a media guy. I gave him his first job, and he taught me a lot about it. And unfortunately, he passed away too soon. So, everybody, thank you again for coming. Carter Herd Jim, appreciate it. Daniel, and all you guys out there. So my YouTube stat says that I'm up to 1.5% women followers. Okay, I think I have more than that, but whatever. So, all right, we're getting out of here. I'm Rick Snider for Rick Snider's Washington. Thanks for coming. I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Remember, Tuesday, because the game's Monday. And we'll be around the other day. Yeah, Foxy, whatever, dude. See you. All right, bye, guys.